Okay, let's get started. Hi, I'm Bill. Welcome to one more video. It's the 30th of September 2025, and this video is in response to a couple of people that wanted me to send them a copy of my sequence. My preference is to show how to build the sequence so that they can build the sequence within their own instance, N.I.N.A. And so that's what we're going to do here. Now, I want to start by making sure that you have loaded the correct plugins that you're going to need. I am going to be using my RedCat 51 sequence. You may choose to leave things out. Maybe you don't have a flat panel cover that you got to open and those type of things, but you can make those adjustments accordingly. But you're going to want a target scheduler. And while target planning is not required for the sequence to run, it's a nice to have. I have a command in my sequence to shut the PC down. So you may, if you want to shut down the PC at the end of the night, you're going to need that plugin. I make copies of the exposures from the C drive where I store it during the imaging session, and then a copy also gets copied over to a thumb drive. You may want to make that local backup. You may not. Ground station. Ground station is what I use to send me messages. I can put instructions within my sequence to send me messages based upon certain events. Mostly I use it as a global trigger for failures. And then you're going to want connector. I use a disconnect all equipment, and going to require the connector plugin for that. So now let's bring up a blank sequence. And then, as you probably know, there's the sequence start area, the sequence target area, and the sequence end area. And we're going to go take a quick look. So here's my RedCat 51 sequence. This is what we're going to use as a template to build the sequence. And again, what I've done is, well, we'll step through it. All right, so let's go back over to here. All right, so you might want to name your sequence. So I'm just going to call it TS sequence, and it's 9/30/2025. So totally arbitrary, but I'm just going to name it because I'm going to save it and I want to understand which sequence is which. Now up here there are instruction sets that we are going to use. For instance, we are going to use a parallel instruction set here. And anything that I put in this area here, the commands are going to be run in parallel. And then we're going to use a sequential instruction set in this area here. And then we are going to use a sequential instruction set in the sequence end area. Now, I have a habit of renaming things. So I'm gonna, what I would do is RC51 startup. Again, it's totally arbitrary. You do what you like. I'll leave that as the sequential instruction set, and then I'll call this RC51 shutdown. Yeah, totally arbitrary. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to drop in here is I want to be notified on failures since I use ground station. Pushover is a service available within ground station. I think I paid $5 a couple of years ago, and it just is a message broker in a sense, and it will forward messages. N.I.N.A forwards to my account on Pushover. Pushover sends it to my Pixel phone. So what I'm going to want to do here is, again, we can look this way. Failures. I can search up here, and then you see it takes me to the ground station area, and you see failures to pushover. Or if you like to scroll, we can come down here to ground station, and you'll see the command failures to pushover. I'm going to put it up in this area up here. And I have it set for a siren sound, and it wakes me up in the middle of the night if there's a failure. All right, so that's the only global trigger that I'm using up here. Now we're going to come down into my instructions. The first thing I'm going to want to do is open my flat panel. Again, you may not have a flat device that is open and closes, so but I'm going to open this, and I'm going to open flat panel cover. The next thing I want to do is I am going to start robocopy, so I'm going to come down here to remote, or what area is that? Remote copy. Robocopy start. Now, my source directory, again, arbitrary, so you name whatever your source directory is, and then for me, I am just going to use, since I don't really have a directory, we're gonna take this one here. Again, this instance that I'm working here is on my local desktop. In my actual sequence that I use down at Starfront Observatories, the destination folder is erobo_data, arbitrary naming, but that's what I named it. Okay, so we got that. Now what we're going to want to do, or what I do, is we're going to want to cool the camera, so we're going to come up to camera. Now, currently I cool this one to -5, and I put a 5-minute duration, minimum duration. We have that. And so the scenario is that imaging may not be able to start until like 8 p.m., but I want to kick this thing off at 6:30 because I'm going to run out and grab something to eat. So these commands will run, and then I'm going to put a wait for time instruction in here. And in the utility section, we'll find a wait for time. And then what I'm going to want it to do is I use Astronomical dusk. And so tonight it's at 1953. Oh, interesting. This is new. I've not seen that before. Day rollover time 6:40:21. Okay, I'll have to read on what that means, but essentially, if I set this sequence to become active at 6 o'clock, it's going to wait until 1953 after it executes these top three, and it's going to wait before it drops down into the rest of the sequence. So Again, I'm probably going into more detail than necessary, but maybe somebody that's not a N.I.N.A user, maybe this is helpful to them. So I'm going into a little bit more detail. For those of you that are already using N.I.N.A, you kind of know all this. All right, so we got that there. So now we're going to come down into this trigger area here. And there's a couple, I'm going to want to autofocus some things. So I'm going to want to autofocus after time. Now we can also go into the focuser area, and you see autofocus after time. So there's different ways to do it. All right, I'm also going to want to autofocus. So on the time I use is I want every 60 minutes at a minimum. And then I want to autofocus after temperature change. And I want that to be 2 degrees C. Okay, so we got that. And then I am going to want to trigger for the meridian flip. And for that, I'm going to go down to power-ups. And I'm going to go down to the power-ups meridian flip area. And I'm going to use the DIY instruction. And then I'm actually going to change this to 3. This is what works for me. And then 6. So I don't stop before the meridian. I allow it to go 3 minutes past the meridian, but no more than 6 minutes before it does the flip. And that's my approach. Again, you've probably heard me say that this is a have it your way hobby. There is no controlling authority in amateur astronomical imaging, so you're free to do what you want to do. You're the master of your domain. All right, so we got that there. Now I use a restore guiding command. So I'm kind of showing multiple ways to find these instructions, whichever way you like them. Because if guiding gets disconnected, I want to attempt to restore guiding and get guiding going again. I want to center after drift. So if there's any drift. And I want this to be 1 and 2 arc minutes. Again, your parameters are what you find are best for you. Okay, and then center after drift, and I want an autofocus after HFR increase. So we'll clear that here and go to focuser. What do I got this here after HFR? And sample size 10 and 5% is fine. All right. So now, because I'm at Starfront, they provide a file that N.I.N.A can look at using using the safety monitor. And you can set this up if you have a file, but Starfront, it's about whether the roof is open or closed. So N.I.N.A periodically looks at that file to see what the status is in that file. When the roofs are open, there's a keyword open. When the roofs are closed, there's a keyword closed. And so that's how we work on that. Now, so I don't know that I should put this into the template. But I will, because maybe someone is thinking of going into there. So I think I will put this in when becomes unsafe. So safety monitor. When becomes unsafe. Let's look for that. So in the power up area, there's this command here. And, okay, so when it becomes unsafe, and we're going to drop a few instructions in here. So if I'm imaging, everything's fine, and then they decide to close the roof, I want to start to shut everything down gracefully. So there's certain things I want to do, and I used to send a pushover message to tell me that they're closing the roofs. I don't do that anymore. Although I do see I still have that in my sequence, but I'm going to leave it out. So the first thing I'm going to want to do is stop guiding. So that's in the guider section. I'm going to want to stop guiding. I'm going to want to set tracking. And that's in the telescope area. And I want to set that to stopped. And then I'm going to want the mount to find home. And we'll go down to the telescope area, ST, and find home. I don't park with my ZWO AM5 mounts, my AM5N and my AM5. I park. I mean, correction, I have them returned to home, not parked. All right, so we have that there. And then at that point, it would then drop down into the shutdown area. But right now, let's add a couple of loop conditions, because I want the imaging to continue under certain conditions. So I want to loop while safe. Loop while safe. And then since we're using target scheduler, we're going to go into the target scheduler area and what is the command? We're going to want target scheduler condition and while targets remain tonight. So I want the sequence keep running while it is safe, which means in my case the roof is open, and I want it to keep looping through while it's safe, but also while targets remain tonight in target scheduler. So keep imaging if target scheduler has scheduled targets. Keep imaging, but if there's no more targets scheduled for the night, then stop looping. Okay, so that's that. All right, now we are going to get into where the meat of it happens. We're going to put some instructions here now. We're going to want to set tracking. Which is in the telescope area. Set tracking, and we want sidereal, or that's how I say it. We're going to want to start guiding. Go up to guider. And we are going to run an autofocus. So that's in the focuser. Okay. And now the big container goes in, the target scheduler container. So we're going to come down here. Target scheduler. And we're going to want target scheduler container. All right. And I did a video the other day that talks about when you start to see information in the target scheduler container once you start your sequence. And you'll start to see that information appear when the mouse starts to slew for the first plate solve to move to the first target. Then that will get populated with information. But I don't put anything in here. I don't put any triggers in here. I don't use any of this stuff here. People that maybe are more advanced than me with Target Scheduler put things in here, but I don't, and everything runs fine. All right. So now we're going to go into the shutdown area, and we're going to build that, and it's really just stop guiding. So we go to guider. Because now we're going to be shutting down. Where are you, guider? Stop guiding. And then we're going to set tracking again. That's in the telescope area. And we're going to set that to stop because we're shutting down. I'm going to want to close my flat panel cover. Flat device. Okay, we got that closed. I'm going to want to switch filter. I like to return everything in the start of the night. Luminous is the loaded filter, so I just like to do that. So we're going to switch the filter, and I'm just going to set it to Loom. So I'm ready to go for the next night. We're going to want to find home. Again, we're shutting down here. There you are. And then we're going to robocopy start. and I use the default, give it 120 seconds to close out. Then I'm going to warm the camera. And then I'm going to run an external script. And I put a path in there for the bat file. And then I wait a period of time. And wait for time. We're really into, oh no, not wait for time. We'll get rid of that wait for time span. I wait 60 seconds, making sure everything, all the files that get transferred as part of running the external script that get backed up locally onto a thumb drive on my imaging computers. I like to give that time to finish. And then really the last thing, we're here at the end. I wait for a, okay, I got script. Oh, now I'm going to disconnect all the equipment. So that's in the connector. Disconnect all equipment. And then we're going to wait for a time span. Oh, if I can only spell. And again, I'm at this point I'm sleeping, so I don't care if it takes a while for things to shut down. And then the last command would be down here. Shut down PC in utility. And then I would go ahead and save. And I've got it named and everything. And I would save. So I don't know if this is helpful. If you have questions building your sequence, I think it's best that you build it locally to your instance of N.I.N.A. And that way, if you don't have a plugin that you need to have, you'll get an error, and then you can sort out what plugin are you missing. But this is the sequence. And again, I did the video on when this information will start to appear. And again, that's these commands up here are going to run, boom, boom, open flat panel cover in my case, robocopy starts, the camera starts to cool, and then it waits for time. Nothing will appear here. Then the set tracking happens. It'll start guiding. Then the autofocus will kick off. Nothing here. It's when the autofocus finishes and then the plate solve pops up to move to the first target that target scheduler has scheduled for the night. That's when you'll start to see your data populate here. And if we go over onto my instance over here, I also have a target scheduler status window down here where I get an abbreviated amount of information versus what will be displayed in this window. And when I'm imaging, what gets displayed here is enough for me to glance at. That's all I really need. So, all right, let's kick off my, because I need to start getting ready for tonight's imaging. And I've had some issues with my cable on my focuser. Good to see that it connects. And we see that the safety monitor has connect, and this is not showing as safe. So that means that they have not opened the roofs yet. And we can confirm that by bringing up a and we go to OBS status. We'll close all these. This is kind of nice now. They have this now, gives you a profile of what the moon is doing. That's a nice little touch. And then there's information here on how they manage when they open the roofs and close the roofs, in a sense. You know, a lot of people are doing sky flats, so, you know, they may open the roof early, weather permitting, so the sky flats can be done, and keep them a little bit open longer in the morning, weather permitting, so that anyone doing morning sky flats can get that done. And this is kind of what it kind of looks like tonight. Right now, skies are clear, which is great. But as you can see, the roofs are still closed. And again, that confirms what we're seeing here, what the safety monitor is telling us. So, all right, so let's go back here again. Hopefully I went slow enough, which is a natural thing for me. I talk slow anyway, so hopefully this works for those of you that want to build a sequence similar to mine and make the you know, necessary adjustments based upon your gear and your preferences and those type of things. So hopefully this is helpful to those of you that were looking for information like this. I am going to do a video on moon avoidance and my understanding of moon avoidance and how I set the parameters for moon avoidance. Again, there are people that are far more knowledgeable than me on moon avoidance. Those people hang out regularly on the N.I.N.A Discord. Tom Palmer, who wrote Target Scheduler, hangs out there. A lot of good information available on the N.I.N.A Discord and around moon avoidance. If you do some searches, you'll see some of the questions that I have asked there over time and those type of things. It's really a super helpful resource, but I will take the time to put a video together and share on how I'm approaching it and those type of things. And hopefully, Gunter, if you can wait another day or two, hopefully that I'll get it done in a couple of days. All right. Thanks again for dropping into the channel, wherever you may be in the world. Oh, like, share, and subscribe. You know, you got to throw that in. But wherever you may be in the world, I hope you're looking forward to some good weather if you want to image. Other than that, thanks again for dropping in. Until next time.